Chips music here. Hey, hear me? Can you hear me okay? Yes. Okay. So I get to follow the professional here. That's great. I am not as entertaining, but we'll go forth anyway. My name is Matt Kremer. Reason I'm here, I guess, is I'm the city administrator of Erlanger. I was also a cop for 12 years. Thanks, Mr. Jones, for the music. Before that, 3 days from now, I'll have been in the United States Army Reserves for 20 years. So I do have a little bit of, thank you. You're cutting into my time. All right. So I guess the reason I bring that up is just I do have some leadership experience over the last decade to kind of go off of on some of this, even though some people tell me I look like I'm 12, but it's been a while since I've been started out in the Army. So Mr. Faust asked me to do this. I kind of wanted to, one of the first things that came up to mind was something that happened in Iraq, and it was an opportunity for me to train and allow one of my leaders to make mistakes and to learn from that. One of the big issues I've had, I think, over the last 5 years with soldiers and employees is they don't know how to prioritize as well as I feel like I did in the past. And a lot of other people that have kind of have experiences can prioritize. The other thing is they're afraid to make mistakes, and making mistakes is a good thing. My 10-year-old challenges him to be able to try things just to make mistakes, and we have to teach that it's okay. And making mistakes is what actually is going to make you better in life, even though that part really is not fun. So, try to get a quick story. I had a staff sergeant that. And my second deployment in 2007 took over as a platoon sergeant, and that was one pay grade higher than his rank. So he was really kind of behind the curve in that aspect for somebody that should have that experience. But he excelled very well. First 6 months, he did great. Every mission I gave him, he was very successful at. And towards the end of that year, he was getting pretty confident, almost to the cocky side, which I was fine with, because he had a lot of successes. But I knew at some point he was going to cross that line. And when you're deployed, we were in Ramadi, Iraq. If you get too cocky, you're talking lives or injuries. So I really monitored what he would do. One day he came back from a pretty long mission, pretty hard mission, and I gave him, after he debriefed me, I gave him another mission. It was really short. It was to move that bridge. It was a floating bridge part to a river in Ramadi. Only about 5 miles up. It was a really quick mission compared to normal, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. So I gave it to him. I told him, get some rest tonight, come back in the morning, kind of give me your plan. Oh, sir, I got it. I already know the plan. I'm going to take that bridge part, and I told him the dimensions, out this rear gate. And instead of the front gate, which all the parts came in at. So I knew the front gate was bigger, the back gate was not. And I said, well, Sergeant, I don't think that's going to work. I think it's too big. He's like, oh, no, it'll be fine. We'll make it work. Because I'll save a whole mile by going out that gate, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it is when you're on that kind of those kind of roads. So I said, all right, just make sure you do your recon, check it out. Next morning he comes in and he's like, we're going out the rear gate. I already have everything approved. We're moving out. And I said, you've measured it, you've checked it. Yep. All right. Knowing my first sergeant Rodriguez, kind of leaned to me. He's like, it's not going to fit. I'm like, you know what? I know. Just let him go. So I let him leave, and I talked to him. I said, look, we both know that he's very confident and is good at his job, but this is a controlled situation that we can allow him to make a mistake. Maybe he'll prove us wrong, but it'll be a good opportunity. Sure enough, 5 minutes into the mission, this is what happened, and this is not just a bridge part in front of that gate. It is wedged between the concrete barriers right now. Okay, this is a very large floating bridge piece, which you can't just go to the Walmart and get one. I mean, they are limited in the country of Iraq. So I'm out there and I'm watching him freak out. He's just as short as I am, so he's running around really, really crazy. I'm taking pictures, which of course is probably ticking him off. But I knew what was coming. So just like the good leader he was, he's immediately fixing plans. So he's going to get forklifts. He actually widened the rear gate, so for future convoys actually worked out best. But it took him an hour to do this. Now, during this hour, doesn't seem like that big of a deal, 4 other convoys did not make their SP time to get out the gate because he blocked them. They couldn't go at the front gate because you have a plan, and the plan is the rear gate. You have to go out the rear gate. So 4 other units were affected. I was getting calls from my company commander, of course, yelling at me, and I expected the heat. I was getting calls from the commander of the post, which I was not expecting, taking the heat, and it was okay. He completed the mission, came in, and obviously he was extremely flustered. He was exhausted just mentally by this, where everybody in the post was hearing about it on the radios, coming out to take pictures, and seeing this big mistake, right? So he was coming in. Me and my first sergeant decided to talk to him. He figured he was coming in for a good chewing. And, we sat down, and, of course, that's it, pushing through finally. But we kind of sat down and explained to him, look, this is the reason we do the recons. This is the reason you have certain steps you have to take. One of the things, one of the 7 habits is putting first things first. I understood he was coming back from a mission, which is why I told him wait till the morning to brief me, and he decided to go ahead and skip a couple steps, and those were critical. In this situation, not that big of an impact, but it could have. First Sergeant Rodriguez, him and I had worked very closely for 6 months and a little bit longer, but we got really close. He's a very intelligent man. He's had a lot of experiences from the military. I think he had been in 30 years by that point. And we were sitting down discussing this. As you could tell, he's just completely exhausted. And he told him, you got to think of priorities 3 different ways. And I've never heard this before, and I know it's not something he created, but I really carried this with me, and I've used it throughout the years to explain people that are having difficulties. There are 3 different type of priorities, and if you use a metaphor for balls, a rubber ball is a priority that you don't have to get to right away. So it's a priority that you can drop and it'll bounce and you can catch it. It's not something you have to do right now, even though you'd like to do it today. You can drop it and still catch it and pick it up tomorrow. Nobody can hear it, nothing happens other than the fact that it's still there and you have to do it. And he explained today the priority was a metal ball. Okay, when that dropped and you made a mistake, it hit the ground. And what happens to a metal ball when it hits the ground? It's extremely loud. Everybody turns around and looks. So when he wedged that bridge part between the 2 concrete barriers, everybody was watching him, which increased the stress. But he explained to that sergeant, the benefits you had today was that you could reach down and pick that ball up and continue on with your task, which he did. Just because you have a lot of people looking at you, they're going to remember that, and for 2 weeks we heard about it. But after 2 weeks, it was never spoken of again. But he learned that lesson right there, that this wasn't that big of a deal. He cautioned the sergeant, though. He said, in our current situation, what you really, really have to focus on are those glass balls. Because when you drop that glass ball, it falls and it shatters, and there is no picking up. So if he would have taken these steps and missed a couple on a really important mission where his ammo wasn't there or some other critical piece where he injured a soldier or lost a soldier, that's not something you can pick up. So if you take this metaphor that we used in Iraq and you apply it to any job that anybody sitting here is using, I apply it all the time. The glass ball is something that's going to end your career, okay? And that's the important stuff that you have to be able to monitor. So my only takeaway, I think, for this is, 1, please feel free to use the metaphor. It really works well. I don't use it a lot, but you'll find those situations where you really need to explain something. But encourage your people, your employees, your family members to make mistakes. It's okay to drop the rubber balls. It's okay to drop the metal balls. Don't drop the glass balls. But you will learn, you'll gain experience, which will allow you to gain wisdom, which is going to allow you to gain really good judgment in the future by using all your past experiences. Thank you.